So, wanted to make a video about nutrition and coaching other people with nutrition, coaching yourself. Obviously, the biggest, most important thing when it comes to coaching is you got to be able to coach yourself. So, if you eat like shit, I really believe you can't really teach anybody else to follow through. So, that's number one, lead by example. The one thing that I've kind of noticed, I've gone lots of ups and downs with nutrition, talking about, whether it be sort of like a bodybuilder sort of diet for cutting or gaining, if it fits your macros. It goes by lots of different names, but that's sort of the IIFYM. It's kind of the sort of the fad now on YouTube. And it's not really a fad, they just gave a name to counting calories. And of course there's counting calories, but if it fits your macros is sort of its way of making things more precise. And then there's the paleo diet. There are other low carb sort of diets. There are carb backloading, carb night, which I talk about on some older videos I've made. And I've tried lots of different things, and I keep going to full circle because I've been studying for nutrition, the Precision Nutrition certification, and it comes to full circle that it really does come down to calories in, calories out. I mean, people will agree or disagree with this. No matter, the hardest thing that you can give anyone, either yourself or someone you're coaching, when it comes to weight loss, is getting them to follow a menu plan. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that can follow a diet plan, but under most circumstances, in my experience, at least the people I work with, don't have the discipline to follow a menu plan. And maybe they do, and then they fall off. The only time someone will follow a menu plan is if they're training for bikini or like a bodybuilding show. And the reason for that is because they have a deadline. They're not just dieting for no reason. And nutrition is going to be a part of our life for our whole life. It's something that we're going to always be focused on, or always be a part of what we're always going to eat. And there'll be times where we'll be more into exercise, less into exercise. The one thing you always have control is the food you put in your body and your overall nutrition philosophy. I think this is really important to consider, is that the way you view how you eat, sweets, bad foods, good foods, proteins, will affect your overall health in the long run. Now, I'm not going to go into like social economics or all these things about how bad aspartame is and stuff like that. I'm just talking about regular stuff. And there's these paleo, when you go to extreme angles when it comes to carbohydrates, aspartame, artificial sweeteners, fake foods, vegetarian and veganism. I mean, look, I get it. They have their own philosophies. A lot of it sometimes not necessarily just with health, but also social economics, that kind of stuff. My main thing is that, I'm beginning to realize that people are just, the last thing on their mind is food, or the last thing on their mind is eating good. And I think the philosophy that I think everyone should adopt is eating vegetables. And so many people have heard this so many times, but I really think that's just really what it comes down to when it comes to just trying to live balanced. Because if you don't eat enough vegetables, or you don't eat enough protein, you're going to end up eating more starches and carbohydrates. And that's not necessarily a bad thing depending on your body type, but it definitely will lead to a little bit more overconsumption. And if you are sedentary, you're going to more likely gain more weight. And if you have one of the, if you're an endomorph, sort of kind of holds body fat very easily like myself, there's a good chance that you'll get pretty goddamn fat if you don't pay attention to your sugar intake. And obviously there are people out there that are ripped and lean and they don't get fat, so they don't have to worry about it as much. But keep in mind that you can always break yourself. You can always break your metabolism if you work hard enough at it. And listening to Jason Blaha on Juggernaut Fitness TV, I always think about how junk food or eating bad doesn't necessarily affect athletes or people who work out on a regular basis the same it does sedentary people. So it's kind of like when you listen to nutrition, there's so many different populations when you talk about it, because a lot of the time people work out 3 days a week, but they pretty much are sedentary every other time. They can't do it. They don't do anything else. Think about that. They work out 3 days a week, even if it's with a trainer and it's intense. It's only 3 days a week, and if they don't do anything else, it's 3 hours a week, and that's really a drop in the bucket. And if they're eating lots of carbs and they tend to store a lot of body fat, they're going to get pretty goddamn fat, or they're just not going to lose any weight. And a lot of people are trying their best to lose body fat, and there's no way around being able to have a negative energy balance. whether it be following a certain philosophy that kind of tricks you into a negative energy balance, or it's counting your macros and calories that gets you into a negative energy balance. And the two things that are the most important, or the two big blocks and big pieces I wanted to talk about, is making sure that you're getting at least 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, or that would be about 0.7 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, and making sure that you're having at least 2 servings of vegetables a day. Now, I think you should have more than that, but I mean, these are just like some small baby steps. I think there's a big thing out there if you really want to get good with your diet. There's always these little memes or whatever, those memes you see on like Instagram or Pinterest or whatever. Abs are made, and not in the gym, but in the kitchen, and that's totally true. If you don't know how to cook your food well, or you can't prepare your food well in a way where it tastes good and has low calories, there's a good chance that you're just not going to be able to stick to it, because we all love to eat good food. I'm not big into cooking, but for whatever reason, I want donuts, and I fucking tear Krispy Kreme donuts, and they're about 240 calories a pop. And Michael Corey Fitness, he does a lot of cooking videos, and he made one on donuts, whole wheat donuts, and they were about 160 calories each, so roughly 40% less calories than the Krispy Kreme donuts. Now, probably not as good, not as tasty, but definitely probably a little bit more filling, probably more fiber. Of course, the macros aren't that great, but they're definitely better than the Krispy Kreme donuts. So it's kind of like finding that lesser evil. Everyone has their own trigger food. Like like today, example, there was my coworker had these peanut butter bugle chips, and he says, just try it. I said, I can't have that. I'm on a diet, right? I'm trying to lose some weight here. Anyways, he says, you can have one. And I fucking have one. And guess what happens? I can't fucking stop eating them. I'll eat like half the bag. I'm like, okay, get this shit away from me. It's just, like, you got to know yourself too. Like, if you tend to be like me, a little bit impulsive when it comes to food like that, you got to come to the realization that it's just better to stay away. And again, this is why you set goals. You set specific goals for yourself. And if you don't have, that's why if you do a bodybuilding show or just even like a powerlifting meet, it really does help you move in that direction. Or even if you just set a personal goal to deadlift or bench, or just simply be able to run a mile under 10 minutes or something like that. Those are really, really important goals that help drive you in the right direction, and they'll kind of help steer you in the right path. And if you have no goal or something that's important to you that's driving you, you're not going to follow any nutrition stuff if you are already struggling. Sometimes people just follow nutrition because they're just truthfully vain. You don't want to look soft, and that's totally okay too. But everyone's a little different. Just wanted to share my thoughts about that, my experience of the day, and just talk about just kind of some good nutrition advice. Hope that makes sense. It's not for everybody. If you're more of a strict person, well, then you follow more of a strict menu. This is more for the average person, people who are not going to journal their food every single day. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.